This is a proof of concept PowerPoint on Overwatch heroes as Hearthstone cards. Starting with Death Knight, I chose Reaper. Makes a lot of sense. Your Reaper's ultimate is a pretty cool ability similar to Defile that lets you just keep doing damage over and over again, and Reaper has lifesteal built in, so I thought, what if I made it similar to a Lord Godfrey for Death Knight that had lifesteal? It has a condition that it has to be able to kill undeads, which is, again, a Death Knight mechanic. Plus, I mean, how else are you going to make Death Blossom work as a card for, or as like Reaper's effect in the game? It needs to have some form of balance because you can't just make it continually deal damage the entire board. And if it only dealt damage once, that would be pretty boring, I'm going to be honest. So having undead as the re-trigger effect helps Death Knight, because Death Knight can kill their own undead off pretty easily. If you're playing even Death Knight, which is actually why I made Reaper 4 mana, you can have your own hero power to trigger its effect. Or if you have, like, mining casualties, which, again, can trigger Reaper's effect. Again, additionally, I can't talk. I think this card is really fucking cool. I think this one I really cooked on, personally, and I want to hear what your thoughts are on all of these, so I really want to, like, let people have time to read these cards, read the effect that I'm basing it off of, and, you know, the ultimate, usually, to see what the thoughts are. Then, for Demon Hunter, I chose Genji, and Genji has Battlecry, Equip Ryu, Ichimonji, and then in-game, when Genji ults, he pulls out his sword, it gives him a reset on his dash, and if you don't know, Genji's dash resets every time he kills a target, so I thought, okay, what if I make it a pretty good weapon? 5 mana, 5/3 weapon is not bad by any means, and you have immune while attacking, and then after your hero attacks and kills a minion, you may attack again. So you either have a pretty good 5 mana 5/3 weapon to hit face with, or you can make use of the, you know, reset mechanic from Swift Strike as attacking again, which is, again, a mechanic that Demon Hunter has access to. So I thought this worked perfectly. Genji is also, like, fits well with Illidan because he's, you know, the outcast sort of brother to Hanzo. I didn't make a card for Hanzo, but you get the idea. He, you know, technically dies in the lore, gets imprisoned, is what Illidan was, so I thought Genji fit pretty well for Demon Hunter as well, I'm not gonna lie. Then, for Druid, I chose Winston. Winston is, he's a big tank monkey, he's got Taunt, 6 mana 4/8, Taunt, Beast, Death Rattle, add Winston Primal Rage to your hand, and then I thought, okay, Winston's ult is a very powerful, game-changing ultimate. He ults, and it resets his jump ability. At the same time, it gives him a lot of health, and it makes it so he is melee only and does a lot of damage that way. So I'm like, okay, what if I made it similar to Guff, the Guff reward from the Lost in the Park Hero Power quest. Not Hero Power, sorry. Lost in the Park quest. So he is a 6 mana 8/8 taunt. Battlecry, give you here a 6 attack, 6 armor, and Wind Fury. The Wind Fury is supposed to represent the reset on Winston's jump cooldown, and the fact that he's, punching you over and over again. It gives less attack and armor than Guff, but because it gives Wind Fury, it gives more. This one might be a little too strong, I will be honest. It's quite strong to give your Druid Wind Fury. So there's probably some stuff you could tweak about this one, but I think that the thematic is there for sure. Also, I mean, Winston's the only animal character that makes sense for Druid, and I looked through all the list. You could have chosen Lifeweaver, that would have made a little sense, but I haven't played that much Overwatch 2, I will be honest, so I don't really know anything about Lifeweaver. So I wouldn't know how you could thematically make it work. Plus, it's Winston, he's like one of the most iconic characters in the game, so I thought that he should probably be on the list. Then, for Hunter, I chose Ashe. Ashe is definitely a more controversial pick, I will admit. However, it makes me think of Verisa, the way that I designed this card, around Verisa Windrunner. You have the Viper, after hero attacks, cast Explosive Trap, which is similar to Dynamite, which is Ashe's ability. And then it has Death Rattle summon Bob. Bob is, a big fuck you tank, like, shoots at everything. If you've never played Overwatch and you haven't experienced Bob, he's like crazy. He does a pretty good amount of damage. He's really beefy. So I was like, okay, I want to put Bob in the game and somehow, and I didn't really know how to do it for any other class than Hunter. And that's why I think, okay, making it similar to Verisa, Dynamite is similar to Explosive Trap, Bob, make it so it's kind of like after you complete destroy the weapon, so it comes out on turn 9 on the earliest, or turn 8, I guess, on the coin. Or if you're able to destroy the Viper, which you can do. You get Bob, 7 mana, 7/7 mech, rush. After this minion attacks and kills a minion, excess damage dealt to the hero. That's the Trampling Rhino text, and I thought that fits perfectly for Bob. He's this big, bulky bruiser that you throw out. She literally is like, Bob, get in there, or whatever. And he throws out, he goes, and he'll knock up someone if he runs into them, and then they just start shooting. So I thought, okay, giving it the Trampling Rhino text fits absolutely perfectly for what Bob would be in Hearthstone, and I think this is a great way to do it. As well as, I'm a Hunter player, and I'm a little biased because I like Ashe, I like Bob, so I thought that also went into it. But I think Hunter does fit this the best, personally, because Bob's identity as a sort of really expensive, high-damage option kind of makes sense for Hunter as well. Then, for Mage, I went with Symmetra. This is a Titan card. A lot of these cards have are based on different mechanics that we've had over the years. Symmetra's the one that's very obvious. As a Titan, your Titan abilities, it's a 6 mana 3/6 Titan. Whenever you summon a mech, gain armor equal to its attack. Mage has mech synergies, Mage has armor synergies. I thought this would work perfectly as a passive because Symmetra gains shield passively throughout the game. So the Titan abilities are Sentry Turret, summon 2 1/2 Sentry Turrets. And then the Sentry Turrets are 2 mana 1 rush, or 2 mana 1/2 rush, summon a copy of this at the start of your turn mech. Symmetra continually places Sentry Turrets throughout the game, so I thought this would be like a very interesting way to to show it off, that she's placing these Sentry Turrets a lot throughout the game, and they keep resummoning themselves. The sentries themselves do they do a fair amount of damage, so I thought, okay, giving it rush would make a lot of sense. Then the second ability is Teleporter. Make a non-Titan minion dormant for 2 turns. I think this is probably the best way you could, make a teleporter kind of spell work, or kind of ability work. Yes, a teleporter actually is, teleporting you rather than, making you go dormant, whatever. I think this is just the best way I could have made it work. I don't think there's really anything interesting I could have done for teleporter otherwise. So I think this, works pretty well. I specified non-Titan because I think that if you're comparing it to something like Aman'Thul, or I guess Aman'Thul specifically. Aman'Thul mentions non-Titan when you are talking about, copying a card. So I think if you were to make Symmetra dormant for 2 turns, because you technically could, would be a weird thing. Or you can make your, Norganon, or your, what else? Like a Yogg or something like that, dormant. I don't think that really makes much sense personally, so I added the non-Titan tag. And then for the third one, which is her ultimate, Photon Barrier. Your hero can only take 5 damage until the start of your next turn. This is incredibly strong, but you can only use it once. It's tied to a 6 mana legendary, and it kind of fits thematically to Photon Barrier. It's a giant fuck you wall that she places down that is really, really, really hard to get through. It's better to just let it time out or go through it. So I think that works pretty well for this. Of course, tell me what you think about these below. This is one of the more experimental ones I was working with, trying to make it a Titan, and I've never actually made a Titan card before, so I thought this one would be really cool to start with. Then for Paladin, I actually chose Colossal. So Reinhardt and Brigitte are, mentor and mentee in the game. They're, Reinhardt is, the big stereotypical tank. He's got the barrier field, so I gave him Taunt, Divine Shield, Rush, things he does in the game. He has the charge ability. I didn't put that on here, but whatever. Barrier field. But specifically, he cannot attack while barrier field is up. So I was like, okay, what if he does not have Divine Shield while attacking? And that synergizes incredibly well with Brigitte's passive, Inspire, in the game. It's whenever she deals damage, she, heals things around her. She heals allies around her. It says it right here. When Brigitte strikes an enemy with her flail, all allies within range are healed over time. So I thought, okay, what if, because Reinhardt doesn't have his Divine Shield for his attacks, he will take damage. Brigitte will be able to heal Reinhardt after using the thing. Of course, you're going to summon them together because it's a Colossal card. This one is probably really overpowered. I'm not going to fucking lie. These are so many stats. I tried to make it expensive, but don't get me wrong. I wasn't really thinking about balance for a lot of these. I was thinking more just the proof of concept, how you can make them work in the game. And then obviously, Brigitte, Rush, after this mini attacks, restore 4 health to all friendly characters. Numbers can be tweaked, things like that, but it's more just a proof of concept. And I think that I really knocked it out of the park on this one. I'm not going to lie. Then for Moira, Moira is the perfect embodiment of Priest. If you thought Mercy would be a good thing, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Mercy does healing, yeah, but Moira is Shadow and Light. It's very obvious where Moira's inspiration came from. So I was thinking, okay, whenever you cast a Shadow spell, your next Holy spell costs 1 less. Then switch. Similar to, the Naga spell kind of stuff that you can do in Mage and Demon Hunter with Sharpshooter and... oh god, I don't remember what it's called. Like the Siren card. So instead of Naga spell, it's Shadow Holy, Shadow Holy. This one, again, not really thinking about the power level of it. I don't even think it's that good, to be honest. There's no decks in Wild that run, Shadow and Holy spells at the same time like this. And I'm obviously thinking of Wild power level when I make these cards. Yeah, you would nerf the shit out of most of them for Standard. That's fine. I don't really care. I play Wild. That's why I'm thinking of them, and I'm making them like that. I think this is a really interesting idea. You want to have Moira work as a Shadow Holy, Shadow Holy, Shadow Holy, because that's her whole thing. She deals damage, and that charges her heals. And then she can heal people based on that. And she runs out of healing if she's not dealing damage. So she gets a lot of benefit from doing both at the same time. For Rogue, I chose Sombra. I mean, this one's kind of obvious. It's not even inspired at all. I just thought of something that would be cool. Battlecry, silence all enemy minions and weapons until your next turn. So the reason it's all in capital is because it's cards in their hand as well. This is the first card to silence cards in your opponent's hand, because no cards do that. The only card that comes close is technically Objection, which just makes it so they counter their minions completely. I think this fits really well for her ultimate EMP. I was going to make it something like stealth-based, but I'm like, that's kind of boring, and it's definitely overdone, but I don't know. I mean, Sombra is really obvious to be the only rogue character. I mean, I could have done Genji, but I think Genji fits better for Demon Hunter, personally. So Sombra being like a 5-mana 5/5, it's not very cheap, so it's kind of in the Lotheb or Boom Pistol Bully stat block of 5-mana 5/5 with a tech choice option. Of course, this card probably is one of the worst ones, I'm going to be honest with you, because how the fuck is Rogue going to do this or anything with this? But I think it's just fun, personally, and that's more where I'm going with it. Then, for Shaman, I chose Ramattra. Ramattra works incredibly well for Shaman, because Shaman's kind of the only class that can really make use of Mana Thirst with Astalor in Wild nowadays. So I was like, okay, Mana Thirst works well in Shaman just naturally. So what if I made Ramattra... Then I thought about the fact that Shaman has a lot of spells that are dealing damage multiple times, right? So Ramattra, Mana Thirst 5, deal 1 damage to all other minions twice. That's similar to something like Earthquake, which is 5 and then 2. It's Mana Thirst 5, so it's pretty expensive. And then you get Ramattra Venemesis added to your hand. 7 mana 7/7, taunt, Battlecry, deal 2 damage to all enemies. And then it's Mana Thirst 10, repeat for each enemy. This is similar to Annihilation, which is Ramattra's ultimate, where when Ramattra ults, he starts sucking in and dealing damage in a AoE to all enemies around him. It kind of fits really well. I think this one I actually cooked pretty well on. Shaman was pretty hard to do for a class, I'm not going to lie. Or for a card, I'm not going to lie. There aren't very many... characters in Overwatch that I feel like would fit Shaman very well. So this one's definitely more of a, but that's more of a not really having that many characters in Overwatch kind of thing. There's so many characters that are good for one class and then aren't really much for others. That's kind of how I feel about like Shaman and Rogue. Then for Warlock, I chose Widowmaker. Widowmaker as a 2-mana 2/1 Battlecry, add a Widow's Kiss to your hand. 1 mana, deal 1 damage, honorable kill, add this back to your hand with +1 damage. Honorable Kill fits so well with the sniper theme of Widowmaker. She's getting these headshots. She's doing a lot of damage. And then I thought, what if, Widowmaker is an offense hero, right? So making Widow's Kiss only be really good against minions wouldn't have made much sense. So that's why I made it deal 1 damage rather than deal 1 damage to a minion. So say you ramp this up to like 1 mana deal 7 damage, which is pretty realistic. It's not easy, but it is something you could do. It's probably going to be like 5 most of the time. And then you can send it to the dome if you really wanted to. It fits a control Warlock shell incredibly well, while also giving you some form of burst, which is something that like a control Warlock doesn't really have at all. I don't think this card would be OP in the slightest. It would be pretty good, if I'm going to be honest. It fits like the Mortal Coil or a Smokestack kind of idea, but instead of getting, you know, drawing a card or getting Excavate, you get a Widow's Kiss that deals 2 damage, which is also pretty good. 1 mana deal 2 damage, you already got the value from that. Then you can do it again, you get 3 damage. Then you can do it again for 4 damage, pretty consistently. Getting this to 4 damage is very reliable. Getting it past maybe 5 or 6 is going to be hard, and then if you get it to like 8 damage, it can snipe a giant, and that's really funny. I was toying with this adding to your hand at the end of your turn, but I don't think that matters. Like, you already have to pay a pretty good amount of mana for this to do anything, and then it's like, I don't know. I think, again, I'm not talking about balance for a lot of these. It's more just the design idea, and I thought this one was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Then for Warrior, it's obviously got to be Torbjorn. I made this similar to the Darius Crowley in the whatever the Witchwood player PvE event was called. I forget what it's called. It's not Dungeon Run, because that's the Kobolds and Catacombs one. I don't remember what it's called. The dark, whatever the Witchwood one is. So it's Torbjorn, 6 mana. After your Battlecry, summon a turret for each other enemy minion. At the start of your turn, increase their damage by 1. This is kind of similar to the Colossal and Demon Hunter Xylag, where Xylag would summon 4, and then they would do 2 damage and then increase by 1. Torbjorn can summon 6, and they're, 0/1 turret. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to enemies across from this. So if there are no enemies on board after that, it'll all go face. If the opponent has an odd number of minions, they'll hit 2 minions, and that's like the whole idea behind Darius Crowley and whatever the Witchwood PvE mode is. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head. I'm too lazy to look it up. So I think that this is really, really cool. It kind of fits the idea of the turret. You get stronger and stronger. The turret gets stronger as Torbjorn hits it. Goes from level 1 to level 2. It used to go to level 3, but I mean, I guess technically that's your ultimate, right? It goes to level 3, right? I don't remember. But yeah. And then, of course, the turrets are mechs. Mechs have synergy in Warrior. I was thinking about making it so like they couldn't attack, but that would be really annoying if you have to have a board full of these turrets. Like, as yourself, you can never make them attack, even if you give them attack. It's pretty iffy about how this can work, I'm gonna be honest. But again, it's proof of concept rather than balance. I think this card probably would suck, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, Xylag was fine, but you also would cheat out Xylag because it was Colossal. This is a battle cry, so But yeah, that's gonna be it from me. This again is a proof of concept video on Overwatch heroes as Hearthstone cards. This is something I think that Blizzard really should do, and they are missing out on. Putting other Blizzard IPs into Hearthstone would be such an easy thing to do, and it would provide so many expansions that people would buy the shit out of. But yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think down below. Do you like any of the cards I chose? Do you not like any of the ones that I made? Do you think that other characters should have been for other classes? Do you think that I did everything perfectly, and you think that I'm the greatest at making cards ever? I don't know who would think that, but yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Rising again, darker than they've ever been.